Right, good morning, good morning. Thank you all so much for being here. I hope everyone had a very grateful Thanksgiving holiday. And at this time, I'm going to ask for a roll call to call the Revenue Estimating Conference to order.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Roll call. Honorable Mayor Latoya Cantrell.
Present.
Councilmember Joseph Giarrusso.
Here.
Councilmember Helen Moreno.
Here.
Chief Administrative Officer Joseph Thread.
Here.
Director of the Department of Finance Romy Samuel.
Here.
Professor Mara Bogarten-Force.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. So we are here today, as mentioned, for the Revenue Estimating Conference for the City of New Orleans. This meeting on today was called by motion that was adopted by the New Orleans City Council on Tuesday, November 25th, which put the scheduling of this meeting in place. There was a request made to the CAO for me as the mayor to call for an REC meeting prior to November 25th. Having requested information, meaning financial information relative to the financial position of the city, and having not received information adequately enough to call for the meeting, I chose not to do so. But again, as a result of the actions by motion made by our Councilman Joseph Giarrusso and Helena Moreno and adopted by the entire council, we are here on today. So as we start, and what I would like to do is start with the reading of the minutes from our last REC meeting, which was held on September 29, 2025, and please read them into the record. Ms. Tiffany, I believe you'll do that.
Yes, I will. Thank you very much. The meeting of the Revenue Estimating Conference was called to order by Mayor Latoya Cantrell. Adoption of minutes from August 27, 2025, Revenue Estimating Conference. Councilmember Giarrusso moved to adopt the minutes from the previous meeting with a second provided by Professor Force, with minutes adopted unanimously. Discussion of 2025 General Fund Revenue Forecast. Opening remarks by Mayor Latoya Cantrell highlighting the significant impact that broader economic trends have had on the operations of the City of New Orleans, as well as the state and local level factors.
I don't like that mic, Tiffany. I'm sorry. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, of course.
Public, consumption, it matters.
Sure, understood.
Thank you.
How does this better?
That's perfect. Thank you.
Great.
Much better.
Okay, let's see. Okay. As well as the state and local level factors that have further affected the city's revenue streams. This year's proposal will avoid the type of increase the city experienced last year when the 2025 budget presented in 2024 rose by nearly $70 million at the local level, significantly impacting city operations. Additionally, there were unforeseen challenges the city experienced, such as terrorist attack, weather events, etc. Following open remarks by Mayor Cantrell, Chief Economist Matthew Cooper began by noting once again that there are additional funding requirements beyond what was considered during the 2025 operating budget adoption process. He also noted that there would also be an obligation to fully fund the savings fund in the near future. Finally, he pointed out the only significant change from what was reported at the previous REC was actions by the Federal Reserve to decrease interest rates by 0.25%, signaling continued and future economic well-being and stabilization relative to the current environment of uncertainty. This was despite an uptick to inflation. Deputy Director Frida Richardson Taylor noted that the city already has a council-approved ordinance requiring 5% be allocated to the savings fund each year, and those funds are already set aside. A specific cash set-aside amount noted as $35 million. Discussion of the 2026 general fund forecast. Mr. Cooper continued his discussion of general economic indicators which will form the environment within the 2026 general fund revenues will be collected. Declining revenues reflects the ongoing decrease in population and labor force that the city has been working to recover since the pandemic. This decline is evident in both property tax collections and sales receipts, the two primary drivers of recurring general fund revenue. He explained the primary factors leading to the 2026 general fund revenue forecast. 1, new information regarding annual property valuation assessment practices. 2, legislative changes to the information regarding annual property valuation, Number 2, legislative changes to the taxable commercial transactions at the state level, translating to $16.3 million that was removed from the 2026 forecast. Uncollectible revenue from the city. Number 3, red light traffic enforcement camera rules changes and revenue sharing requirements at the state level. Number 4, general long-term declines in sales tax receipts due to inflation and declining local population and labor market. And number 5, removal of collection fees from OPSBs from sales tax and property tax that resulted in about $6 million that we could not rely on due to court rulings to our ability to collect those fees. Director of Finance Romy Samuel stated for the record that other agencies have contacted the city regarding collection fees, noting that the omission of OPSB from the fees presents a risk of additional losses in collections. She further clarified that the city is still charged by the Department of Revenue for the OPSB collection fee, which the city remains responsible for paying. These services are still being rendered, and it's at the cost to the city. A key shift in the 2026 forecast stems from state actions that altered revenue collection. Removal of school board and property tax collection fees from the city's recurring revenue based on a court ruling. This change reduces the 2026 forecast by about $16.3 million and is reoccurring. Mr. Cooper also noted that changes to the EMS fee schedule really doesn't add revenue to the general fund and instead replaces revenues from a state program which had been sunsetted. He finished the presentation by reading the 2026 general fund revenue forecast into records. The final forecast total, a combined general revenue forecast of $725,566,564. Mayor Cantrell then called for a vote to adopt the final forecast number with a motion made by Councilmember Giarrusso and a second by CAO Threat, with the motion passing unanimously. 2 items of public commentary prompted a response from multiple of the conference members on various issues which could be affected by the fiscal difficulties currently experienced by the city. Presentation of a long-term forecast. Mr. Cooper, by presentation, explained the long-term general fund revenue forecast through 2031. With no additional discussion, the presentation was concluded. The adjournment. Mayor Cantrell asked for a motion to adjourn the meeting, proposed by Romy Samuel and seconded by CAO Threat, with unanimous vote concluding the REC.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
The minutes of our last REC meeting, September 29, 2025, have been read into the record, and I will entertain a motion to approve.
I'd like to make a correction, Madam Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
On the collection fees that are charged by the Louisiana Department of Revenue, both the City of New Orleans and the Orleans Parish School Board are charged collection fees. The city does not pay that on behalf of OPS.
So noted.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we need a motion to amend the minutes, I would say, as read into the record, and then I'll ask for a motion to approve as amended.
Sorry, so moved.
It's been moved by, I hear you, Councilman. I
Okay,
see
I'm right
Rome.
here. Yeah, the
Okay.
machine isn't working.
All right, so moved by Councilman Jeruso,
I second.
seconded by Director Samuel. All in favor, please vote your machines.
It's not working. I
Okay,
vote
so we can do a roll call vote.
Aye.
Member Jeruso?
Aye.
Aye.
Director Samuel?
Aye.
Forrest?
Aye.
Mayor Cantrell? CEO Threat?
Aye.
Councilmember?
Non-voting.
non-voting.
Yeah, you're not a voting member?
Nope.
Okay, I believe we had all vote yay, so it passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. All yeas, no nays, and we will now move to the next matter on the agenda. And prior to doing so, I know that there was a draft presentation sent to me and the team on Friday, November 28th, the afternoon of. The final draft was received last evening, Sunday, November 30, after 6:30 p.m. Not being properly vetted and verified by our internal team, in addition to financial advisors, in addition to our economists, this presentation is not ready for public consumption. It is a matter of definitely being prudent in our practices, and when I have REC meetings, we're making sure that we're thoroughly prepared for a discussion and a vote that would follow. So given that, we will not receive the presentation as submitted on last night, 6:30 p.m. And also, I know that there were other concerns with the internal team relative to what is being or would like to be presented publicly. Any comments?
I have a comment. Really more of a
Excuse me,
question, if
ma'am.
I can
Let
be
me-
recognized.
Let me make sure that voting members are recognized first, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, we did receive an updated copy this morning. I'm not aware of the actual changes from the presentation you mentioned. We just received this prior to this meeting starting.
Okay, very good. Well, that validates, one, the lack of proper vetting, and definitely, again, not verified by our team, particularly our financial advisors, our economists, and it's not about a feeling, it's about being prudent in our practices and our policies. Any other comments, voting members?
This is CAO Threat. I was just looking on the presentation for the change in the revenue estimate from 725 to whatever the current recommended revenue estimate was. I think I sent you an email, Councilmember Jeruso, on that to see what the final number would be.
It didn't say.
No, ma'am.
It didn't say. I understand. It didn't say. Councilmember Moreno.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, while I appreciate if you don't feel comfortable voting on a new number or the adoption of a new REC number, I would still appreciate the opportunity for Councilmember Jeruso to move forward with his presentation, along with others who have made the time to be here today to go through the presentation. Like I said, I definitely appreciate your position of not feeling like you may have all of the information necessary to vote on this today, but I do think it would be prudent for the public to be able to see what Councilmember Jeruso has put together and also the presenters who are here today.
Sure, and I do respect that. However, we're not presenting opinions in the REC. We present facts. And so without proper vetting, verification, financial advisors, economists, it is not ready for public consumption. Therefore, we will not move forward with the presentation as presented just recently, not only last night, not last night, this morning, final draft.
Well, and I'll just say, Madam Mayor, that there certainly has been a vetting of these numbers through financial advisors, along with the legislative auditor, Mike Wagasback, who's here, who of course is the top auditor for the state of Louisiana. But if you are the chair of this right and your authority, if you want, to not move forward with items on the agenda. So obviously, I leave it up to you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much.
But I do believe that it would be prudent for the public to be able to see this presentation of what Councilmember Giarrusso put together.
Yeah, but again, thank you very much. I do respect that. However, this has not been properly vetted, and no internal communication with my team relative to this presentation. This has been documented thoroughly, going back and forth with the council member, in which we shared and exchanged communications, expressing the need for proper information leading into an REC. That has not been provided. So at this time, I did see, Councilman, I know you're not you're non-voting, you're not a member, but I would recognize you.
First of all, thank you, Madam Mayor, for recognizing me. This frustrating process has been rather difficult, especially in the last few months or days that I have left in office. And I think sometimes it's frustrating to me because I remember what was, what is, and then I think about what can be. But I was talking to my staff earlier about what has been most frustrating about this process is I have had very few meetings with anyone as it relates to the budget. And I said when the budget process started, especially when it was acknowledged that we would have a deficit, that a budget deficit in crisis should not lead to a human crisis. Now, the one thing I do know, and I think maybe institutional knowledge doesn't matter anymore, is that the city has had budget shortfalls before. But the budget process didn't stop. The meeting, the haggling, public, the input, that was never absent for it. I've had one meeting with Councilmember Giarrusso, as far as the transition budget. I have not had a meeting like I've had in the last 4 years with the CAO budget staff about the realities of the budget, your district, this project, those projects. And if we're down to $1, then it's still important to determine how that $1 will be or should be spent. Now, I don't know, maybe no one needs to talk to me. Maybe no one needs to talk to a lot of people, but let me say this. Just follow my questions a year ago when I asked the right questions as it relates to what it would be and where we would be right now if those questions weren't answered correctly. So I don't know, I would just think that the public and the people I still represent in District E, there's some folk probably wish I'd go away and never be around again. But it doesn't mean that we should all be in the room talking and haggling and communicating about what we hope the budget's going to be and what it will be post-January the 9th. So I would hope at some point that there is some level of meeting and communication, because the budget, and I'm being asked to vote on a budget today, December 1st. I don't know how I can and why I would even, when no one has thought enough to sit down and say, hey, dummy who's been around here a long time, this is what's going to be cut. This is what we're going to do to enhance revenue. This is what we're not going to do. Now, I personally don't think that's fair. If losing means not participating, then that's why we're in this position we're in right now.
Thank you very much, Councilman. The lack of communication, I would agree with you on that. There have been requests for information, presentations, documentation, to no avail. We have yet to receive only first Friday and last night and this morning. There's been no internal vetting, so I don't feel comfortable rendering one a vote. That's not prudent at all. So I agree with you, sir. You say, you dummy, I must be dummy number 2. Because, again, my team and I have not had the thorough conversations and vetting that we have asked for and asked for repeatedly leading up to this REC meeting that was called. So
Madam
with
Mayor,
that-
Madam Mayor, no disrespect,
Uh-huh.
but we still have a CEO, we still have an administration, we still have people who are monitoring the budget, and over the last several years, all the years that I've ever been in office, now I'm getting blamed for a lot of stuff with the 14 years I was out of office, but there were still meetings about line items and issues that were being proposed. And I remember those meetings with Mr. Montano and his staff specifically, and I have not had those meetings to date. Now, just for the public's consumption, I wrote a letter last week to Mr. Montano saying that if he cared anything about this city, he deserves to be here talking about how we got here and why we're here.
Thank you, Councilman.
The press may not give a damn. There may be certain people we think we need to protect during this process, but this is a very serious situation that the public ultimately has to pay for. And then after my colleague's Instagram interview, which I thought was very telling, there's so many questions that need to be answered that haven't been answered, and I'm being asked to give a vote on a budget. If y'all will remember over the last year or so when I used the term ghost money. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. The
Matt-
City of New
Madam Mayor?
Orleans, no, sir, I'm speaking, I'll call you.
Thank you.
I don't see you on the thing, but I got you, Councilman. The City of New Orleans, the administration submitted the proposed budget to the New Orleans City Council on October 1. October 1, up until now, had several meetings. However, when asked, Councilman Giarrusso, have there been any changes? Where you're going? No, was the answer. And here we are, December 1, with no path forward other than a presentation. So the budget proposed by the City of New Orleans, the administration, is what stands and is what has been given to the New Orleans City Council. It is your responsibility to adopt a budget. We've rendered also over 9 revenue-generating ordinances. I don't see those show up. They're showing up nowhere. So the administration has done its job. We're here at REC with a presentation that hasn't been properly vetted and that will not go forward. Councilman Giarrusso?
Yeah, I do think the public record will speak for itself in terms of the meetings that took place preceding all of this internally and how much of this was discussed. I don't want to fight about that because I don't think that gets us anywhere.
Right.
I would also say for everybody sitting here, the most important thing is to sit and please stay for the council meeting at 10 o'clock where we'll take up the REC presentation as the very first item because we can recognize the revenue under the charter. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And there's no material evidence that has been presented to the administration nor documentation supporting what is in the presentation. Therefore, that is the reason why it will not be presented at REC at this time.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Thank you. I would just like to clarify for the record that Councilmember Giarrusso, well, let me back up. First, I want to thank CAO Threat and Brandy DeLarge for the constant meetings and communications that they've had as far as the budget goes with the transition team and all the different department heads as well. Now, that being said, moving forward as we tried to work through this budget and identify new revenue, we had been talking with the CAO and members of your team that we were looking to identify new revenue. And then as we worked through the numbers, and this was just a week ago, that Joe Giarrusso and myself and others tried to figure out like what could be this workable budget. Then we started presenting it to the public, and the transition team did bring up the kind of the general scope of the new numbers to your team on Wednesday. And then we asked for a meeting for all of us to get together on Friday afternoon. And, for us to get together Friday before the actual budget is adopted is something that has been common practice in the past. I mean, from what I remember in working budgets in the past, we've worked with the CAO's office all the way through the weekend, late into Sunday night, work weekends, work whatever it took to get the numbers right. So having, 3 days before REC to be able to sit down with your team and have this dialogue and get everybody on the same page, I thought that was a necessary step. But from what I understand, that you declined that meeting.
I did decline that meeting because it was first asked of staff on Thanksgiving Eve if they would be available on Friday during holiday. The budget, we know what it needs to be adopted, December 1. Prior practice, you do your planning appropriately, and you all failed to do that. In addition, you failed to take up revenue generating ordinances that were presented by the administration October 1. And so, no, there hasn't been thorough communication. No, your meetings were not a collaboration at all. They were secret for the most part. And in addition, when information was being requested, it was not shared, and not shared at all. And so the first time the CAO saw the presentation was actually on Friday. So with that, there will be no presentation that is certified by this REC, and the numbers that are in it have not been verified nor vetted, and therefore we will not receive it at REC. The council, however, can move forward, as you know you can, adopting a budget without validated revenue sources, and that will be something that you will deal with when you become mayor. So, but right now, as the chair of this REC, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Ayes have it. Meeting adjourned. Thank you all very much.
All right. We'll just change over for the 10 o'clock council meeting.